morning, year 5s and 6s. Now, Miss Carlia couldn't make it today, so she sent me, Elsa, to do your English lesson for you. Okay, it's a little bit chilly, so I am having to wear thermals underneath my gown today. So today's date is Monday, the 25th of January 2020, and here is your learning intention, or your learning question for today, which is, can I identify the key features of a non-chronological report? So we've left Rose Blanche now, and we're moving on to a different style of writing, a non-fiction piece of writing this week. So pause the video, get that learning intention written down, and then restart it when you're ready to move on. So you should, from the blog, have seen this document here. Okay, it's a two-sided document. You may not have been able to open it up, but this is the document that you will have had attached to today's blog that hopefully you've been able to open and have a look. I'd like you to pause the video now and have a look through that document, either online or on paper if you've been able to print it out, and think about two things: the layout features, so how has it been laid out, and then language features, so what sort of tense is it written in, what person is it written in, are we using formal or informal language? See what you can spot and then restart when you're ready to move on. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you've had a chance to really think about this and maybe annotated the paper document if you have it. We're just going to do that now with this one, and in true Miss Carlia style, I have put the pen down somewhere and I don't know where I've put it. Oh, there it is. Bear with a second. I've just spotted it across the room. Except I'm not Miss Carlia, I'm Elsa, so I've obviously got the same losing pen condition that Miss Carlia suffers from. Okay, so layout features. Let's think about layout features first. So what do we notice at the top here? Hopefully you've spotted that we have a heading, okay? Now on this one, my heading is just the Blitz, but quite often it's quite nice to use a question as your heading. So what was the Blitz? What happened in the Blitz? Okay, so thinking about a question that you might engage really what you're trying to do with that heading. You're trying to engage the reader. You're trying to make them want to read your report. Okay, because as authors, that's what we want, isn't it? Whatever type of writing we do, whether it be recipes or stories or reports or newspaper articles, the whole purpose is we want somebody to read it. Okay, and they read it for a different purpose, but the purpose, ultimately we still want them to read our writing. So we have a heading. What else do we have? As well as headings, we have these, don't we? These subheadings. So for each section of the report, I have a subheading, and I have, on that case, used questions for my subheadings. Okay, and hopefully those questions that I've used, the reader will get the answer to those questions in the section below. And it's quite nice to have subheadings because as a reader, I might be interested in a particular aspect of the Blitz. So I might not want to read the entire document. There might be a particular area that I'm really interested in. And by having signposting those different areas, I can go to the area that I'm interested in. So that's the main reason why it's good to have subheadings. Okay, here we have a photo. Okay, wouldn't necessarily have to be a photo. It could be an image of some sort or a diagram. Okay, if you're going to use diagrams, you'd want to label them, wouldn't you? And what have we got underneath? What do we call that thing underneath? It explains what that picture is of. Can you remember? We use them in newspaper articles quite a lot, don't we? They're captions, aren't they? They're telling us what that photo is of. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, so it doesn't necessarily relate to every single report you write, but there might be occasions like this one where you have some statistics, and in this case it's the number of times each of those cities have been attacked. Okay, so it's quite nice to present that in a table because it makes it much easier for the reader to see and pull out that key information. If I'd listed all of that in a paragraph, one after the other, it wouldn't be so easy to pull out that key information for the reader. So it's quite nice to show statistics presented in a table. How else, other than a table, thinking about your maths, how else can I present statistics rather than a table? Have a think. That's right, I could present it as a chart, couldn't I? Line chart or a bar graph, okay? So that's another way of presenting the information. Now, something that we don't have on this document that I could have included that certainly Swan class will have included on their volcano reports that they wrote in term 1 are some interesting facts. So sometimes it's quite nice if you think that, oh my god, it's really interesting fact about the Blitz or about whatever you're writing about. Oh, I'm going to put that in a little box because I think that's really interesting. I really want to highlight that so that stands out for the reader. And then you can put little boxes with interesting, did you know, and put that interesting fact. So although I don't have it on this example, that is something that it'd be really good to include. Okay. So there's our layout features. Now we're thinking about the language features. Now, I said to you before, you paused to think about it, we were thinking about things like tense, third person, that sort of thing. So what tense is this one written in? It's written in the past tense because this is something that happened, if I get my maths right, we're going back sort of 80 years ago, aren't we, that this happened. So this is something that's already happened in the past. Reports aren't always written about things that have happened, though. Things like when we wrote about volcanoes still exist. Okay, there may have been volcano eruptions that happened in the past, but when we're talking about volcanoes and what they're like and how they work, we're going to do it in the present tense, aren't we? So the tense will vary depending on what you are talking about. But in this case, it's past tense. Okay. Am I writing, I did this, I did that, we did this, we did that? No, we're not, are we? We're writing about the third person. Okay, so report writing would always be in the third person. And then what about the type of language we're using? Are we using formal language or are we using informal language in a report? Have a think. I can hear you all shouting formal language at the screen, so that's correct. Well done. We are using formal language, and that's what we're really going to focus on today in our lesson is formality, the formality of language that we're using and ways of making our writing more formal. And the last thing that's on here in terms of language and vocabulary is that sort of subject-specific language, okay? So technical language you might call it as well. So subject-specific language, okay? So you might want to pause the video now and annotate your text if you haven't already, or just get those jotted down so that you've got a note of all those different features for when you come to write your report. Because your writing that you're going to be doing this week is you're going to be writing a non-chronological report of your own. It might be about the Blitz. It's about an aspect of World War II that interests you. So that my suggestions have been are going to be the Blitz, rationing, so that's something you've been learning about already, and also evacuation. So picking one of those areas that interests you and doing some research and writing the report. But don't start the research yet because tomorrow's lesson is going to be focusing on the research, okay? So today we're just focusing on the features and more specifically the formality of the language that we're using. So moving on. Okay, so here are a few questions, a few sentences. Are these sentences formal or informal? So I'll read through them all for you and then I want you to pause the video and have a think about which ones are formal, which ones are informal, and why, more importantly. Not just informal, but why, what makes them informal, okay? So, number 1, I really want you to come to my party. Number 2, Henry VIII didn't like his wife. He lobbed off her head. Number 3, your presence is requested at the Queen's celebration. And number 4, Miss Carlia, I don't know, you can't get the staff these days. Miss Carlia made a mistake. There's at 6 p.m. on the 24th of December, Mr. Jones was arrested by the police and detained at the local police station. So pause the video there and have a little think about whether they're informal or informal and why. Okay, welcome back. So let's have a look. What about the first one? What do you think? What do you think about this one? Do you think formal or informal? I can hear you all shouting informal and you would be correct. What makes it informal? The language is quite informal, isn't it? And I think actually the use of an exclamation mark at the end kind of adds to that informality. I really want you to come to my party. Yeah, it doesn't sound particularly formal. It's how you would probably talk to a friend, isn't it? So think about, you know, with these, who you would be talking to as well as much as anything with the way it's written. Number 2, Henry VIII didn't like his wife. he lobbed off her head. Okay, another exclamation mark at the end. But also, we've got language here, like lobbed off his wife, okay? Or lobbed off her head even, not his wife. And then we've also got a dash, which is a great piece of punctuation for separating clauses, but it does tend to be one that is used in a more formal setting as opposed to a colon or a semicolon, which would be a slightly more formal. Okay, number 3, your presence is requested at the Queen's celebration. Okay, well, link that back to the part. I really want you to come to my party versus your presence is requested. That language is far more formal, isn't it? Okay, that might be on an invitation that we received from the Queen. Now, how lovely would that be to go to one of her garden parties at Buckingham Palace? And then the last one, at 6 p.m. on the 24th of December, Mr. Jones was arrested by the police and detained at the local police station. Again, formal language it's using, isn't it? That word detained, we could have said and kept at the local police station, but detained would be a far more formal way of saying that. Okay, so hopefully you spotted the difference there between the formal and informal. So let's have a look back at our text here about the Blitz, okay? This is what we're interested in today. I want you to have a little look through this and underline or highlight, if you're lucky enough to have a highlighter pen like I did, highlight any language there that you think is perhaps more formal language than we probably would use in everyday speech, okay? So pause the video, have a little think, and then come back when you're ready to move on. Okay, welcome back. I have miraculously got those words on the screen for you already. These are ones that I've pulled out. I'm not saying this is all of the words there that I think are kind of slightly more formal, okay? But these are definitely, this language here is definitely not words that I perhaps would use in everyday conversation. I would use it in a more formal setting, okay? There are a lot of words here. I'm not going to go through every single word with you because I think actually that would be quite boring for you. I might send you to sleep. But what I would like you to do now is, you can either do this by talking to your mums and dads and testing them on their knowledge of vocab, okay, put them on the spot, or if you're lucky enough to have a dictionary at home, you could spend time looking them up in a dictionary, or you might go online and use an online dictionary. What I'd like you to do now is spend some time familiarising yourself with that language, understanding what it means, okay, make a note of that because there's lots of really good words here that you might be able to use in your writing later on this week. Okay, so spend a little bit of time going through those words now for me and then come back again tomorrow for the next lesson, which will be all about doing the research for the area of World War II that you're interested in. Anyway, hope that you found that useful today. I look forward, or Miss Carly looks forward to being back tomorrow. I'm back off to somewhere cold and colder than here, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.